Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today, we have somebody that I don't know if he's a real estate investor or not,
I am,
but
yeah.
he's attached to the real estate world for sure. My friend Bob McIntosh, thank you so much for coming in today, brother.
Thanks for having me on, sir. I very much appreciate it. And for all of you tuning in, listening, watching, whatever you're consuming this content, I appreciate you because your time is valuable. So I will endeavor to make it worth being here.
Amazing. So, Bob, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Where do you come from? Like, where do you grow up? That kind of background.
Yeah, so I grew up 45 minutes outside of Buffalo, New York, and what equates out to about farm country. Grew up there, did that, but always wanted to be in big cities. So I ended up after that living in Chicago, New York City, LA, Austin, and now I'm in Tampa. So all over the place. But in that time, it's funny. I graduated college, and I got a good job, as they tell you to do. And don't get me wrong, I got paid very well. It was fun. I got to hack some banks, legally do that, I should say. And during that process, I was like, all right, well, what do I need to do? I want to do something else besides this. I have some money. And so I ended up buying a rental property, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I'll make like a couple $100 a month. Like, that's awesome. But I need 20 of those to make this make sense. And I was like, okay, well, me saving enough money with my job to scrimp by to get 10% to put down on a property.
What kind of job was that?
I hacked banks. Yeah.
You used to be a bank hacker.
Yes. Break their security, tell them the holes and how to patch it up.
Now, were you did you work for the banks or
sort of? Yeah, I worked for an accounting firm, and the banks will hire the accounting firm accounting work and then hire us to do their security testing because they are required to do that by not by law but by regulation.
Right. Yeah, who better to hire than the guy that knows how to break it, right? So
right, exactly.
So that, in what year is this? When did you buy your first investment property?
Bought my first duplex in 2008.
Oh, wow. That's great timing too, man.
Yeah. So bought this thing, again, very different time, right? But it was $110,000 property. I put $10,000 down, or 11,000, whatever it was, 10%, right? 11 and change for some closing costs, and got myself a duplex. And I was like, okay, we're off to the races. And then I realized I needed to get more faster. I was like, I can't save my way in the speed that I would want to do it to retirement or not having to work by buying one rental property a year. And of course, this is early on, right? There was the education and coaches and all that. There wasn't a ton, you could buy a Robert Allen book maybe, or a few other things out there, but there wasn't the same depth that there is now to get support. So I got into flipping. We flipped our first house. It was an absolute disaster, lost a bunch of money. And I said, well, the only way for me to make up, because it wasn't my money, it was my dad's money and my mom's money.
When did you buy that first flip?
End of 2009. And I did everything wrong, man. Everything wrong.
So my first property was in 2009.
Yeah.
And guess what? The same thing that happened to you happened to me.
Right.
So tell me about that.
It was a rough time. It was a rough time.
Oh, dude, it took me a whole year to finish that house.
Yeah. So I connected with it. I read some books. Cocky 21-year-old is like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I don't I got this, right? Found an agent who got me in on a property. It was a foreclosure, because of course everything was a foreclosure back then. And of course I was like, well, I don't have the money to buy this, and I don't have the money to fix it up, and I didn't know anything about private money or borrowing money or any of that. So I got a 203K loan. Which I don't know if you know what that is or not, but it's like a government loan that they give you the money to buy the house. They give you the money to fix the house. You just have to give them a small 3%. It was about 3% down. So it's like a 200. I think I bought the house for 170. So I didn't need very much money to get into this deal. But what they tell you in the part of the process, you have to have an approved contractor. So my loan was through Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo said you have to have an approved contractor from our list to do the work. Me being a dumb, naive kid was like, oh, well, if these guys are on their list, they must be good contractors, or they wouldn't get hired by this big national conglomerate. No, I got Tony. I challenge anyone who says they have the worst contractor to compare notes with me on Tony. I guarantee you There's just the things that he didn't do. Oh God. Um, anyways, we won't go into all that.
How
But
much money did you lose on that project?
40,000.
Okay. And now, did you lose the money, or did you end up recuperating the money later on, or the market
Yeah.
appreciated and you rented it? Like, well, tell me a little bit about it.
No, so we learned a hard lesson. So we had a buyer in ready to go, and this is actually a pretty messed up thing. So we had a buyer in. They came in, I think, like 5 grand under our asking price, and I was like, okay, that's great. Like this all numbers should have made about 25 grand on that deal had I sold at that price. Perfect. FHA buyer because it's a lower price point home, and had to have 2 appraisals. Second appraiser comes through, price is $15,000 lower than what the buying price is, and 15,000 lower than the first guy. And I was like, how the heck did he arrive 15,000 lower? Go through his appraisal. He mismeasured the house by 500 square feet, which basically equated out to the missing
It's a
dollars.
lot of money.
Went
Yeah.
back to him, said, hey man, you messed up. He's like, oh, yep, I did. I was like, I need you to go to the bank and fix it. He's like, no, I can't do that. Because if I go back and tell him I messed up, they won't hire me for appraisals anymore. And I need this job. So he refused to fix it. And because it was
Wow.
FHA, I got stuck with the appraisal for 6 months. And the only buyers buying houses in that price point were FHA buyers. So me being dumb and young was like, I'll just sit on this house. Took me like another 9 months to get the house, or 10 months to get the house sold. And that time, all my profit got eaten up. A few more things that I didn't count on went wrong.
Yeah,
That I
by
had to pay
that
to
time,
fix.
it's 2010 already. The market is fully depressed.
Yeah.
Nobody's loaning money.
Nope. And I sold it for 5,000. Sorry, I sold it for the same price. If I had sold it to the original buyer for the discount that the appraiser messed up at, that was the same price I sold the house at 10 months later.
Yeah, so you
Yes.
lost money by
Yep.
sitting in the property, mortgage.
Yep.
Um, Now, was it a $40,000 loss to your pocket, or was it a $40,000 loss from the equity
To my pocket.
to your
Out of
pocket?
pocket.
So,
Yeah.
so you came
Not
back
equity
negative 40
loss.
grand.
Yeah. Yeah. We put in money and walked out with 40,000 less than I put in.
Got it. Okay. Um, what I did, because I was going through the same thing the same time, brother. Look, I had to completely tear the house apart and rebuild it. The only thing I didn't change on that property was the roof, because the
Mm,
roof was actually in good conditions. But I brought it down to the studs pretty much, and I had to go pull permits. I became a general contractor by necessity. Now, in the state of Texas, is different than Florida. In Texas, all you need is insurance, and you're good. You can pull permits. The only people that need to have a license are like the electrician, the plumber, the HVAC, and who else? I'm missing somebody. Those are the main three ones.
right.
And but I have to pull the general permit, and then they pull a permit from my permit.
Right.
Um, yeah, I couldn't pull an HVAC permit in Texas or whatnot. But the difference was that when I was done with the property, I was supposed to. I bought that property for $13,000. It was, I mean, this thing was in bad shape, and this is in 2008 or 9, roughly. So, the world is coming to an end pretty much with the whole bailout and all those things, right? So I had $25,000 budget for the renovations, which they could have gotten done with that much money if I gave it to somebody that was, trustworthy. Well, the first guy wasn't trustworthy, so he literally took my money and ran. And then I think he stole like 10,000, something like that.
Oof.
And then I just kept making the wrong decisions over and over and over again. And it got to a point to where I had a house, I didn't have it finished, and I had no money because I was doing it all cash. So I literally had to go work offshore to make some money to put the windows, and then some money to do the flooring, and then and every month I will go offshore and I will come back because I used to have a job at the time, and then I'll just little by little. It took me a whole year to do that. So when I went in the market, I wasn't gonna make any money if I sold it at all. Like nothing. Like literally, the only person making money would have been the agent and the title company. And I said, I'm just gonna rent this thing. And I kept it rented for 4 years for $900 a month. Well, that now became a slam dunk deal, but because by the time I sold the property 4 years later, I think I sold it for like $40,000 more than I could have gotten when I first got the property. But what about the $900 a month for 4 years? That's $48,000 more. So that's when I recuperated my monies when I sold it 4 years later, and and it was not a nightmare anymore. So, but I
I
wanted
hear
to get
you.
rid of it because it was a pyramid house, and I had to go readjust the foundation every now and then. And I said, you know what, man? For as long as I own this property, I'm gonna have to be dealing with it. Um, but yeah, and so after that, how was your world as a real estate investor? Like, how many properties were you able to accumulate? Like, tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about.
So from there, I was like, okay, well, I can't not pay my parents back. That would be just not who I am. And I was like, but it would take me a decade to probably scrimp and save enough to pay them back. And I was like, so the only way through to handle the obstacles through the obstacles. So I was like, well, we just got to flip more houses, make bigger checks, and we'll do that. And so, by the way, that first house was just outside of New York City because I was living in New York City at the time, and it was in New Jersey. And anyways, by the time we actually sold the house, I had moved to LA. So I had no interest in owning a property in New Jersey, renting it, any of the, even then there was, the laws were shenanigans back there for renters. So I was like, nah, we're good. So, yeah, my dad, through a contact of his, connected with an agent back in Buffalo who had a fire damaged house. It was bad shape. I think we bought it for $6,000. That's how bad this thing was. And flipped that. I think we made like it was for us it was a home run because I think we made like 15,000, but we were all into the house for like our total cost in was like 60,000 or something like that.
Okay.
Like we made like 16,000. So from an ROI perspective, it was pretty fantastic.
It was
And I think
good.
we were in and out of that deal in like less than 6 months. So I was like, okay, this is a home run, right? We're getting back. And then from there, we just kept buying. And then in the meantime, I got good. So I had to get good at like, how do I help? So I got good at digital marketing because I was living in LA at this point, and I was like, well, how do I help the business from 3,000 miles away? The idea of virtual anything at that point was not a thing, right? Like sharing files on Dropbox was a brand new idea. It's like, oh my God, like we can share files across the internet. So it was a very different time. So I got good at digital marketing, and that's how we ended up getting most of our deals. To date, about 40% of all the deals that we've bought came through digital marketing aspects. And so that's where I got really good at that process. Made more than enough on, flipped, I don't know, hundreds of houses. We have a small portfolio now, about 34 rentals. Trying to grow, do a couple syndication deals, do some private lending now. But that's where we went. But it was a rocky start. I won't lie.
Man, so the evolution of a real estate investor, right? You started with a nightmare project, right? 2008, same time as me. So we were probably brothers from different mothers, pretty much when it comes to flipping, and having your first flip as a nightmare. Um, because man, it's kind of crazy to think about it, but I was going through the same. You feel something in your stomach that you can't just describe when you're going through
No.
something like that,
Yeah.
And
And it's just like, and like at that time too, and what no one now really gets is, like every single month that goes by, and like for me, the house was done, right? I had to end up sinking a bunch of money into fixing things that he fixed because he didn't fix them the right way. Like, great example, he fixed a broken pipe that was on an outside wall. This is in New Jersey, so when it freezes, that whatever, he
right.
insulated the pipe. No joke, not even lying. He insulated the pipe with a fun noodle from Walmart. It still had the Walmart sticker on there, not like proper insulation, a freaking fun noodle. It was pink. Right. So then the pipe burst again, and I had to like pull that out, redo the pipe, redo the wall, redo the insulation. So shit like that. But every month, right, you're watching the market get worse and worse and worse. And you're just like, price cut. And it's still not enough. And it was just like, I look back now and I'm like, man, apparently I was a much more resilient 20-year-old than I am as a 40-year-old now. Because I'm like, man, if that was today, I don't know if I'd have the guts to see it through again.
Well, you know, you wouldn't have the same problems because now you have the experience and
Well, true,
you,
yeah, yeah. But I'm saying, like, I look back and I go, man, like everything in the world should have indicated that I should not have done more real estate, and yet somehow I just powered through and said, I believe in myself. I got enough to make this work.
look, man. I called my mother one time. My mother is like my spiritual advisor, plus my mother, plus many other things. And she came to Houston one time. I didn't call her. She came to Houston to visit me, and she asked me why I wasn't doing more real estate. And I was like, "Really? Are you like I just lost a bunch of money to these thieves and thugs and all these contractors that showed up out of nowhere and blah 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 blah. And I really don't have the stomach for this, mom." And she's like, "Come on, that's not my son. Like, you gotta go get the best way for you to get back up is to go get another property and do it right the next time." And I had already given up. Literally, I had given up, Bob. Like I had the property, but I wasn't buying more or looking for more. Nothing. I could care less about that. She's like, "Look, you already learned how to build a house pretty much from the ground up. Why are you gonna quit now?" Like, and I'm like, "Well, mom, I lost a lot of money and it hurts because it's money that I saved for a very long time, and I had to borrow money from my mother-in-law. She like it wasn't that pretty." And but she came to me and she talked to me and she talked to me back into it, and I ended up
It's a
accumulating
good
a
mom.
hundred. Yeah, I ended up accumulating like 107 properties after that, and now I found out I didn't like being a landlord. So yeah, I don't know about that, but and the reason why is because I bought on someone else's dream. So I saw this guy having all these rentals, and I thought it was a great idea, and I went and did it, and then I was like, "What did I do? What did I get myself into? Like, this is not passive income at all. Like, I don't know who came up with that term, but that term is bullshit."
Right.
And because I was like doing evictions and fixing broken things, even though I was, dude, I most of the rehabs I did in those rentals were full rehabs, meaning I replumbed the property, I rewired it because I was buying trash houses, but I was doing them right. I was flipping them for the end buyer, not for a tenant, pretty much.
Right.
So I had to pass inspections. I had to, everything was had to be done right. They still managed to break the pipe, the plumbing, and like I remember one lady in a house we had in a street called South Valderas. She will call and she's like, "Oh, the sewage is backing up." I was like, "How is the sewage backing up? That thing has a brand new sewage pipe. How is it backing up?" So we go there and we start
What did
digging.
you put in the toilet? What did you put in the toilet? I know that's what it is, right?
Brother, you know what she was putting in the toilet? Diapers.
Oh God.
So here we are. We pull the diapers out and we're like, "Are you kidding me? Do you put diapers in your mom's house or your?" I didn't know, and I'm like, "Wow," and here I am with a big trench in the backyard of the house, and I don't know how much
Dude,
that
I
cost
could feel
me.
the I could feel the Encyclopedia Britannica with the things that my tenants claim they didn't know.
Yeah, so I found out pretty quick I was not a good landlord, or I wasn't made to be a good landlord. So I quit, and we got rid of all the properties. I like the flipping, so I stayed flipping while I had a job. By the way, I did all these things while I had a job.
Yep, same for
I was
me.
the W-2 guy. I didn't care for entrepreneurship at all. Like maybe I was an entrepreneur by heart, but since I knew how to work the corporate world and I got paid very well for it, I'm like, "Hey man, I'm just gonna accumulate properties and do flips here and there, and I'm okay making 300, 400 grand a year and call it a day with my in between my job and my flips." And um we stay flipping, and then all those problems went away. Now, do you still own rentals?
We do, yeah. But I have a property management company that takes care of everything. So, you know, I lose for sure lose some profit on that, but I am as
You
much
have
as the
peace of
work can
mind.
be passive, yeah, right. You know, it thankfully doesn't require much of us, but I get it for sure. I get it.
So when you were back in 2012, roughly, that your dad was doing houses in Buffalo, right?
In Buffalo, yep,
And
that's where we did
and you
most of
were
our
in
work was
LA,
Buffalo. Yep.
and you were in LA. You started thinking about virtual work, like, hey, how can I add to the business by working from LA? What exactly were you doing at the time?
Yeah. So on the real estate side, primarily digital marketing. So we did a lot of SEO, paid advertising. It was a very different game for paid advertising then than what it is today. Like I could run Facebook ads for, you know, $1 a lead. Like it was stupid. Um, but
Back
so I did a
then.
lot of that. Yeah. Back then. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Not today.
Not
Now like
today. Yeah.
Facebook's like, you know, there's restrictions and housing categories and all kinds of crazy stuff. And we did, and I still believe that this can work. It's just a little bit more manual process. But here's what I did. Actually, this worked well. So we got, like I said, about 40% of our houses came from digital marketing. A lot of that being SEO. A good chunk of that being SEO. About 35% came from agents, and I overlapped the two together very well. So here's what we did. I would my mom had her license, so we'd go on, and every time a house in an area that we wanted to flip in went under contract, I would pull the listing agent's email address and then send them an email and say your house at, and put the address of the house. And you can still do this today, by the way.
Right.
Right? Guaranteed 100% open rate, guaranteed, because they're only getting paid if the deal closes. And if someone says something about their house, they're gonna like their immediate mind is, oh my god, is something wrong? Like what's happening? Do I like that? So they will always open the email. And I just, you know, we would change the message up a little bit, but it would always say something to the effect of, hey, congrats on getting you know, going pending on insert address here. I was actually looking at that house and thinking about making an offer. And by the way, this is, stick with me for a minute because it seemed a little weird, but you know, I was actually looking for other houses in this neighborhood. If you get listings in this neighborhood, especially ones that need work, call me first. I'd love to buy those ones instead. Right. Almost never did we actually end up buying the house that we, you know, that the listings were on, or that was like that we emailed them about, but it would initiate the conversation. It was a guarantee that they were going to open the email, and then I would add them to my list. Now, at the time, it's a little bit harder to do this now, but you just have to have enough of them. I would then, after I got their information, get their email address and add them to a Facebook ad campaign that would just be what would now be today be called like an awareness or an engagement campaign. So they would just see my face and my company name all over Facebook for like the next 2 weeks. So now they think I'm some massive home buyer and they need to work with me. And we got a lot of leads that way.
Wow. So and so the leads were direct to seller.
So wait, we essentially like pocket listings, right? That's basically what we would
Yeah.
get. You know, that's the gist of it. Or in some cases, we'd get like their problem properties, which I'm fine with, right? I don't care if it's hard for you to sell a property. I'll buy it. You know, I'll buy everything as long as the price is right.
Right.
Uh, so you know, we would do that, and then we took on. So Buffalo is also a slightly unique market, right? In a couple of ways, the price points are very, very low. Like even
Right.
today, right now, 2024, I believe in the two counties that we buy in, the median home price is like 104 in one county and like 98 or 99,000. And I might be slightly off on some of these numbers, but close to that in the other county, right? So these are low price. That's today's rates. That's not, you know, years ago rates. And so you get like a fire damaged house that's going to sell for 10 grand. Like their commission is so nominal in that it just doesn't even make sense most of the time for them to take those listings. So we would get a lot of these like heavily damaged houses and just buy them and just pay them a flat $1,000 because I've already wrapped the price that into my price.
Right.
And they were like, I don't have to do anything and I get $1,000 done. Right.
Done.
And so, you know, we would do a lot that way. But we got, you know, I think even today, right now, we still have about 2,600 agents on my email list just from doing that.
Wow. That's a pretty good list, and they're active agents. So you know, one deal you get out of an email campaign, it's just
Yeah.
pays for
We
itself.
We found that I would get about one deal per an average agent every 2 years. That's about what it equated out to. Now, the numbers were actually way more skewed. It was like 15 of those agents brought me a ton of deals, and all the rest brought me like, most of them brought me none, and then like one brought me, like, you know. So take those numbers with a grain of salt, right? But it was in that range, thereabouts is where it came down to.
So now, fast forward, right? What is it that you're doing today? Like, because
Yeah.
I had no idea about your whole real estate background. Like, I just thought you were just a techie guy that knew how to
Second,
lead
yeah.
generate and work all those email systems and and go high level and all of these different platforms. And here I am, like, man, this guy's actually a rehabber. Like,
I've
yeah.
actually done
So
some stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
So we did that for a long time. We flipped houses. I think we closed our last flip out in 2018, I believe. And for a lot of reasons for us, Buffalo got harder and harder and harder. We started looking at our houses, instead of making 25 grand, it taking 6 months on average, it was 12 grand, taking 9 months. And I'm like, that's not very exciting anymore.
yeah,
Low price point markets, it's easy to find money, but it's also harder to make money, because it's like one thing goes wrong and you went from a $25,000 profit to a $12,000 profit because you had to replace a roof you didn't count on. That hits your bottom line a whole lot harder in those small properties. And then also in that particular market for us, what happened was we found that there's a lot of blue collar folks who will buy a house at, let's say, 95 cents in the dollar. They'll do all the work themselves for the next 2 years, make 10 grand, and they're stoked because for them that's amazing. But for us, that doesn't work. Like I can't
right,
make my model work like that. And I also can't compete against someone who's willing to buy your crappy house at 95 cents when I need to buy it at 65 cents. So it just stopped making sense. And so we just switched our model, just focused on the rental acquisition. So we've been building a rental portfolio for the last few years. And so because I was like, all right, well, that was my active income, right? Like that's what I did on an active basis to make money. I was like, I need to do something else. Went through a couple, I'll say the dating phase of a few businesses, a couple partnerships, didn't work out the way I wanted to, and kind of landed into this doing digital marketing. I was like, I always was good at this. Fortune Builders, back in the day, I built and taught all of their students my systems for finding deals online and doing that stuff. So a lot of that. And I was like, well, you know what, instead of just teaching people what this is, what if I actually just did it for them? And so
right.
we created a done for you agency that supports most digital marketing aspects for real estate investors. And I focus a lot on not necessarily the paid advertising pieces. That's not our jam per se for investors. We do that for other people like coaches. But on the investing side, we focus heavily on your social profile, creating high value profiles, your CRM, and utilizing that to get deals effectively, and your website. If you do just those three things well, you'll find that all your other marketing activities suddenly become better producing than they were before. And it's just because those three things are a major differentiator between a complete newbie or someone who's kind of a shyster and just kind of out there to make a quick buck, and the folks who, I'm sure they're listening to this, who are like, I'm trying to build a business for the long term.
It's pretty cool, man. And so let's say I want to be one of your clients. Like, what is the offer, or what is it that I'm looking at? I'm looking at a CRM, right? I'm looking
Yeah.
at
So
a
we'll help
landing
you with a
page.
great CRM. Yep. We'll help you with a website. And then I teach you, we don't really do social media posting because the reality is there's different levels of posting. And for most investors, they just simply don't have the time to do it at the depth that they need to. Should they be doing it? Absolutely. But most of them, especially if they're newer, just there's other things you need to focus on, like getting some deals, making some money before you worry about your social media handles and your followers and all that stuff. So our major goals that we help you with: get a great website. We have a very simple template as well for newbie investors that gets you off the ground for a very low cost. Because I get that you're going to outlay a lot of cash for a lot of things when you start. And then we have a great CRM, and a CRM is only as good as what you do with it. So we've built into ours as much as I can to make it as usable as possible. And so I've got over 170 custom fields built in. I've got 40 plus drip sequences for every kind of person you're going to talk to. We've got landing or squeeze pages for every single person that you're going to talk to in your business. We've got some basic, like, questionnaires and templates for things that you can utilize to get people to give you information. If you don't have like a basic rehab deal analyzer, we have that, like just some basic tools to get you off the ground. Because I find that if you use your CRM and your website and your social to support other marketing, right, by themselves, they're not going to get you deals. And that's actually a big misconception. If I put a website up, I'll get deals. No one cares. There's like a billion trillion websites out there. No one's coming to yours unless you put effort into why they should. But let's say you're doing direct mail. Let's say you're doing bandit signs. You're doing cold calling. Maybe you're doing a text campaign. You're doing door knocking or driving for dollars or, whatever it is, right? Here's the thing that's made the difference for the investors that we work with. There's a lot of investors out there right now who will put a property under contract, don't know what to do with it, and then they'll bail out of the contract. And so investors in general get a really bad rap more often than not. And so what's shifted in my time in real estate, but really in the last 4 years, explicitly heavily, has been those who have a credible presence online find deals close easier because there's more trust. Leads call more frequently or call back or take action more frequently because there's more trust. And the prices you get are better because there's more trust. And so it's all about building that credibility and that trust. And if you have those three things in line, so in other words, I show that I'm high value on social media. I have a website that's professional, it's clean, it looks good, it communicates what we do. And then I have a CRM that I've built proper follow-up in so that when I communicate with someone, they're hearing from me on a consistent basis. Those three things, as simple as that sounds, when done well, will increase your deal flow dramatically.
That's amazing. And I agree with you. I built my website, but I have everything you're talking about, but I probably pay a lot more than if I hire you. And the reason why is because number one, I didn't know what I was doing. Number two, I hired probably the wrong people a few times.
We've
Um,
all done that.
which is usually what happens. It's happened to you, I'm pretty sure. Um, Number three, let's say a go high level account, right? Which is a tool that a lot of us use for
Mhm.
reaching out to possible clients or sellers or whatever you want to call it. Okay, you gotta go high level, but how do you automate it? Like how do you make it proficient, right? And I still don't think we use it like we should. Like I'm
Most
confident.
people do not.
Yes, I'm confident that we're not using it the way it should be used.
Here's what I would say. Look, like, because we use Go High Level. Our CRM is a Go High Level CRM, but we built out the real estate stuff. Like, I've got bare minimum at least 80 hours into the build out of this that I've put in me personally. And then my team has probably put in at least that much themselves. So when you look at this, right, I always tell everyone, like, hey, you don't need my CRM, but if you're, for the price you're going to pay for mine compared to anybody else's, you know what? Like, if you want to go put in, 160 hours to get it to where mine is yourself, awesome. Do that. I support you. I want you to win. Whether you're with me or not, I don't care. But I would love for you to be, for sure. But I want you to win either way. But I'm going to tell you right now, those who win more are the ones who recognize that their time is valuable. And if
of
someone's done
course,
it better for me, how do I just plug in and use theirs? As long as it
a
makes sense, right?
hundred
Obviously,
percent.
I'm not charging $10,000 for you to get into this. Like, literally, you can get a brand new website, a CRM, and everything for $3,000 a year. I guarantee you're going to make more than $3,000 on a single deal, and my process will get you more than one deal if you actually do it.
100%. So, like, let's say I'm a brand new guy that needs a CRM. I need to get going with let's say a basic package because not everybody, like the guy buying 100 houses a year, he's gonna have something completely different than the guy that just needs to buy one in the next 90 days. What would something like that cost me with you? Like, let's say, hey, I want to sign up for your CRM. Like, how does it work? We have a question
Yeah.
here. Lenning, who's my boy, actually. I showed Lenning was on my group in Spanish where we taught wholesaling, and he's actually done quite a few deals. He's
Yeah. I
asking,
love
is
it.
it custom for investors, wholesalers, or agents?
Great question. Great question. So I can answer both questions kind of in the same fell swoop, if we will. So to work with me, look, website, CRM, because those are the two main components, right? I'll show you how to do the social stuff. We don't really do social posting. I can point you to some resource and things of that nature, but
We do
what I
that.
find, yeah, perfect, perfect. Look at that. I don't even have to do it. Perfect.
We do
That's
that.
Ricardo's. He's got
Yeah.
guys for that, right? Um, so website and CRM, it's really simple, right? It's $300 a month or it's $3,000 a year, and we'll get you everything up and going and make it happen, right? The reality is, for what we do, it's very simple for us. It's complex for everybody else, but it's very simple for us. Now, as far as how is this built, our website is kind of a jack of all trades website. So what I mean by that is we give you pages with content, because, by the way, like, you know my real estate background now, right? You also now are learning about my digital marketing background. There is almost no one else out there that has my level of digital marketing knowledge and real estate investing knowledge. Like, I'm one of the few. There's maybe like two others that I know
I
for
will
sure.
say that's 100% true, because we're
Yeah.
both on the family mastermind, and I know there's a lot of marketers in there. There's some great ones like Francis and a couple of other guys, right? But every time I ask a question that is complicated regarding to either automation or emails or something like that, you're the one answering the question. So I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
man, Bob knows what the hell he's talking about, because I usually, like, let's say I go there and I post, how can I get a hard money loan? I get 100 different answers. But when I ask something about automation, I get one or two, and it's from you.
Yep.
So
I try. I know.
yes.
Like I said, I stay in my lane. I know what I'm good at, and I stick there. But yeah, so going back to the question, there's on the website, there's pages already pre-built with content written by me. So because I know what I would want to communicate to these people for sellers, motivated sellers, investor buyers, retail buyers, lenders, agents, contractors. Pretty much everyone you're going to deal with in your business is already on the page, and it's there, and it looks clean, it looks good, it looks fresh, it looks modern, right? Now, if you're an agent as well, I do have an agent template, and I also have a commercial investor template, because they are slightly different
They're different.
variations, right? And we can do any of those for you. In that space. So however whatever your sort of niche is within there, those are the three that we have. I don't do anything else. Like, I don't get into like weird, like, I don't do residential assisted living, for example. That's just not my jam. Like, I know my lane. But if you're doing wholesales, you're doing fix and flips, you're doing buy and holds, our core site is a great starting point. And again, it has everything that you need. And the big thing that's different from us than almost anyone else out there we're going to get a website from is this. With that same either annual or monthly price that you're paying, right? At the end of the every single month, you're getting 5 hours of changes to your site included. So let's say you get that new wholesale deal and you want it on your site. You just email my team the photos or the listing link or whatever. We'll put it on your site, because what I realized a long time ago is that if it's up to you to do it, for most investors, either A, it'll never happen because you're like,
They
oh,
won't do it.
I don't want to get in my site. I don't know. I want to mess it up. Two, you'll put it on there. It'll look bad. Not because you're like, just because you don't know, like, you don't know what you should be doing. You don't know, is it all structured the right way for mobile versus tablet versus desktop? That font sizes, all this other crazy stuff, right? And then number three, probably the most important thing is building sites is like, is not easy. Like, you can go to Wix, right? You can go to GoDaddy and get a basic site. I'm going to tell you right now, they look like crap, and what you spend on your site communicates the value you're going to give to someone. So when they see a Wix site or a GoDaddy site, they're like, oh, they're a cheap person,
Yeah.
right? That's immediately what they're thinking. Oh, they're a cheap person. My site, while still fairly low cost, it's more expensive than Wix and GoDaddy, absolutely, but still relatively low cost, communicates a very high level of professionalism. And again, that just allows you to have the upper hand in negotiation, the better deals, like just everything, right? So that's what we do. But yeah, we can help in any of those niches. And again, all the content's already on there. It's already written. And then we build everything in WordPress, so it's ready to be taking advantage of SEO. As someone who's gotten most of my leads from SEO, I am a big believer in it. It's harder than ever to do it. It's more expensive than ever to do it, unfortunately. But it is still a great process. In the short term, it'll probably be your most expensive leads, but in the long term, it'll be your cheapest. I think I actually ended up running the numbers, and I think I paid an average of like $45 dollars per house bought with SEO over the time
Wow.
of my doing this. So now my numbers are probably skewed just because we were doing it when it was much easier. But even if I 10x that to 450 a house, most of us would be happy to pay 450 to buy a house to flip.
Absolutely, man. That's your main, basically, business today is helping wholesalers, agents, and investors, commercial investors, automate their leads intake
Yep. Yep. All
plus the
that. Yeah.
follow
And
up.
then we'll show you what to do with them. Like the follow up on how to manage it. All that stuff is already given to you, so that you don't have to. Now, look, like anything, right? You should probably go through what I give you and you should make sure it makes sense and make sure it's aligned and that, you might want to tweak some of the things so it sounds a bit more like you. But if you have to spend 5 hours tweaking all your campaigns versus 50 hours writing them all, you're already that much further ahead.
Wow. Yeah, I wish I would have met you way before when I was an active wholesaler, because I've always believed about systems and processes. Okay, and I actually run on the EOS system, which is the Division Traction Organizer, and daily meetings and weekly meetings and quarterly meetings, and I do all of that. And I was very big into CRM. Like, hey, now I like the CRMs that are not that intelligent, but it's for one reason only. Is because I found out that when my CRM was super automated, my acquisitions guys got lazy.
It's always the case.
Yes. So I had to dumb down my CRM to where physically they had to go on every lead and call them and do certain things, because that kind of like kept them on their toes. But when it was
Makes sense.
super automated, I'd be mad, man. I mean, like, guys, this thing is doing 99% of the work for you. Why is it that you're not closing on deals? And I don't get it.
Right.
And then I found out it's because they got distracted doing other stuff, and they wouldn't pay attention to the leads. So I said, fair enough. Now I'm gonna take all of these gadgets away from you, and now you're gonna have to dial like the old days. And guess what? Their productivity went up.
There you go. There you go. I'm always a fan. Like I get that. It's interesting, with these systems, when you have them set up the right way, there's always that balance. You do have to find that balance for sure. I like to automate as much of the tedious things as possible, but nothing replaces good, solid communication. Coming out from a team. No matter, like, I can write the best automation sequence that's ever existed in the history of automation sequences, but a determined person on the phone will still probably outperform it almost always. But what I find is when you have more information at your fingertips, the ability to look back at notes, what did I do to build rapport so when I call them back, I can see what that is. That makes that person all that much more productive if they know and use the systems to enhance what they're already doing.
Good, man. So how can people reach out to you, Bob?
Yeah, super simple. The easiest way is just head to go3dc.com. That's GO, the number 3, DC for Delta Charlie, or Degrees Consulting, 3 Degrees Consulting. So go3dc.com/Bob McIntosh, just my name. BOBMCINTOSH. So go3dc.com/Bob McIntosh. On that page, you'll find 2 links. One's going to be my contact card. Literally has my cell phone, my CRM phone number, all my socials, my email, everything is in there. So you can reach out to me that way if you want to. And there's also a second link on there that you can click to go book a time in my calendar that comes directly to me. I want to help you win, so I'm going to make it as easy as possible for you to get there.
There it is, guys. Go 3dc.com/Bob McIntosh. Make sure you schedule a call with Bob. If you're looking for a CRM, maybe a dialer or a text platform for following up. This is for following up for the most part. What do you think? How do you think the cold outreach is with the systems that you implement?
So cold calling works fantastically in our system for sure. It will continue again, so long as you're doing it, I'll say, within compliance of, do not call lists and things of that nature. Cold texting is pretty well dead at this point in time. There are things you can use to get around it, but they'll all be gone by November of this year. So I wouldn't rely on that. Where we're actually seeing a lot of benefit, and this is an extra service that we do, but it's building out chatbots. So what I've done very well with a couple others is Take your list, go buy your list wherever you bought it from. Doesn't matter. Pick a data source. Script trace your list, get your information, upload that list to Facebook as an audience, and run ads to them. On the ads, they click to Facebook Messenger, and then they can message with your chatbot 24/7, 365. And the chatbot will qualify them, determine their motivation, determine the sales price that they have in mind, and sort of get all the information to you, and then schedule an appointment in for you in your CRM. And we're finding that that works really, really well because you're not the only investor in your area. There's tons of other people doing the same thing as you. So speed of conversation will always win, right? The person who can get to them back. Because here's the deal. Let's say that you have a great ad, right? And they click your ad and they fill out your form. Awesome. If you don't call them for even 15 minutes, let's say, that's 15 minutes of them scrolling through, and Facebook's not going to show them every other competitor ad because they clicked and went through one. So it's like, oh, here's this one, here's this one, here's this one. And whoever calls them first wins. So this kind of, and I use the word call, but it could be call, text, message, whatever it is, right? But this allows for your bot to literally instantaneously message them. And because of that, it's a fascinating, because it's so much faster, the people don't spend as much time scrolling through competitors, which means you have a better opportunity to close.
Man, I love it, Bob. Thank you so much for being here today, man. Lenin, you need to reach out to Bob, whoever else was watching online. If you need a great CRM with a follow-up tool and a cold calling system, I highly recommend Bob. He's an expert in marketing, and I'm actually going to have a conversation offline about a different type of lead generation. But guys, don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Make sure you go find Bob McIntosh. The link works because I just looked at it. I just looked at his website. And until then, we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much.